We are here with Kevin Eagan, Vice President of Production Services at RobbinsKersten Direct, and we are here to talk about postal and paper rate increases.
Hi folks.
Kevin, in January, the Postal Service filed with the Postal Regulatory Commission a price adjustment with changes in the Consumer Price Index on market-dominant products. What does this mean for the layperson, and how will it affect nonprofits?
Well, you know, it's so funny that you're asking me this question today, Joseph, because I've just had a conversation with a friend of mine who's in the know about what's going on in the postal services, and it sounds like the increase for April is going to be just under 2%. Sounds like what's going to get approved. And then, even better news is that the exigent increase that we've all suffered these many years since the financial breakdown of a few years ago will be repealed later in the year. In doing so, there'll be an increase of something just under 2% for April this year, and then something just over 2% later in the year. So there will be a period of time where you'll see I would say a moderate increase in postage rates for 2015. But then when we get into the heavier mailing period in the last quarter of 2015, it looks like the postage rate is actually going to go down a little bit, which I think is really great news for our mailers.
Last year, you talked about how nonprofits could plan for the 2014 increase. It seems like the post office will have to increase rates every year. So how can nonprofits plan for this and any other issues caused by the post office? Also, are there ways in which they can counter the postage increase?
Well, I think that there are a lot of things that our clients and certainly agencies like RKD can do to help its clients. First off, in just preparing your budgets, you should always assume that there's going to be some sort of a postage increase. And if it doesn't come to reality, well, then you're better off at the end, and you can spend a few dollars more on mailing more or putting money into other avenues of fundraising. Specifically within the mailing regimen, I believe that there are a lot of things that can be done. I think I mentioned some of these things last year. Working with your mail house suppliers, you should be looking for a mail house supplier that exhausts all avenues in being able to reduce your postage costs. A smart mail house these days is able to advise you very, very readily on being able to get to the lowest common denominator. So, they should always have a combination of services available to you: consolidation, commingling, palletization, all kinds of things that can be done in order to reduce the postage rate at which you would mail if you were not to do anything more that then helps the post office. So again, a smart mail house, know your partner, partner well, and you'll benefit from that relationship. Absolutely.
Now, with this price adjustment expected to take effect in April and the price of paper increasing, are there other ways nonprofits can offset these cost increases?
Well, I think that as far as postage goes, I think some of the things I just mentioned, consolidation, commingling, anything you do for the post office to streamline your postage line is going to reduce your postage costs. Keeping your mail file clean of people that you don't want to mail to, making sure that you're following all the rules surrounding NCOA and such. Again, all these things add up to savings that you should enjoy if you follow the rules and partner with strong suppliers. I know here at RKD we only work with best of breed, and our mail houses that we work with are well aware of what the rules are and how to bring us to the lowest postage rate possible. As far as paper costs go, I think that there are things that you can do Postage goes up every year. Paper goes up a little bit every year. I mean, certainly if the paper mills had their way, we'd be paying a lot more for paper than we do. But that said, there's been a lot of consolidation in the paper mills throughout the United States, throughout the world, frankly. And the prices have risen. We've been able to keep a lot of our suppliers at bay with paper increases to us, but I think that sooner or later you have to pay the piper. Again, build in a little bit, percentage or two into your budget just to allow for those that growth, which is going to happen. It's going to happen. Planning for it, as I think that we talked about last year, I think is really the key. Know that it's going to happen. Acknowledge that it's going to happen and plan for it, I think, is really important. As far as offsetting those costs go, I think that there are some things that everyone should be looking at, and that is reducing the paper weights in which you use or which you consume your paper product at. If you've been using an 80-pound paper, well, then maybe you should look at something lighter, like a 60 or 70-pound weight. Typically, we use a lot of 60 and 70-pound weights here, and certainly up until a couple of years ago, I would say that in the envelope industry, we were using, and many of our clients enjoyed it, we were using 24-pound white wove, which is a mainstay within that industry. But over the last few years, we've definitely begun to investigate and actually use, to a great deal, lighter paper weights. Looking at paper weights at 20 pounds. I think is becoming an oft-used paperweight these days. The less paper in weight that you buy, the less you have to spend. So ultimately, again, as long as the product doesn't suffer, and as long as it arrives in the home in decent order, then I say why not, and decrease your costs.
That's all the time we have for today. I would like to thank Kevin Eagan, Vice President of Production Services at RKD, for taking time out of his busy schedule to give us a few minutes on postal rate and postage.
Thank you, Joseph, and thanks to everybody out there. I hope you enjoy this. Take care.